Here we go. The Wrebbit Peace Tower paper clock. Hopefully the last update. It's been about a month since I hung this clock up in my living room. And today is the first day that it has run 24 hours without stopping. And I wanted to go through some of the things that I have done to fix it before I forget. First thing I did was, as I've talked about in great detail, is the alternate escapement wheel and mechanism that I put in there, which also required these alternate wooden gears here. Changed the speed of the escapement, and I noticed that the original pendulum was not sized for 1 tick per second. It was slightly faster, so I had to lengthen it. And I've just now got it dialed in to exactly 60 beats per minute. I'm really happy with that. Let's see other things I've done. I tried using wooden axles where I could. These wooden 2.3 millimeter diameter axles. And I found that in many places they just provided too much resistance with the wood, so I replaced them with the metal that originally came with the clock, namely on the escape wheel itself. I had wood in there and I replaced it with metal. I've also determined that the tiny little ball bearings that I had used, let's see if I can find one. The tiny little ball bearings that I had used for the bearings on all of the axles weren't really worth the cost, because in the end the gears just prefer to spin on their axles. The ball bearings still provide enough friction that it's not really good. So in the next clock I build, I'm just going to use metal rivets. I'm going to try to use rivets that fit the axles without popping the rivet or something like that. I'm going to look in like an arts and crafts store for little metal rivets. Other things I've done, I have completely reworked this bottom gear. I took it all off the axle, relocated the bearing, re-glued all the gears back together. That was a mess in there. And the ratchet that actually holds the string in place, you can see I've got these tiny little clothespins. Let me get in a better spot. I've got these tiny little clothespins on there to hold the ratchet in place because it was slipping and the weight was falling and unwinding very fast. Not good for a clock. So I fixed that. I got the gears aligned a lot better there, the main and minute gears. Oh, what else have I done? Every time this clock stops, I try to figure, okay, why did it stop? Mostly looking for friction in the gears and making sure that they're right and taking them apart and putting them back together and all kinds of stuff. And about 2 days ago, I had a thought. I wonder if all the excessive work that I put into this clock is actually good and the clock is ready to run, but I wonder if my kids are stopping it during the day when I'm not here. That was my theory. Like maybe there's actually nothing wrong with this clock. It's just stopping because the kids are playing with it or playing with the pendulum or the weight. And so I put some blocks on the walls to keep the clock from swinging. Whenever it's hanging, it is held in place at a level position by these little pieces of wood that are physically glued to the wall. Holds the clock straight up and down. So even if you pull on it, it won't move. So the clock stays level. And lo and behold, I come home and it's still running. So either the clock was swinging itself as the weight was dropping, or more likely my kids would get up on the couch here and mess with it while I was gone. And that's why the clock was stopping, and it took me a month to figure that out, that it was interference, childhood interference. So frustrating, because I was pulling my hair out about this, like, why won't it work? Everything seemed right, and in fact, I believe everything was right. It was just kids messing with me. You darn kids, stay off of my clock. So there it is. Wrebbit Peace Tower paper clock. This is the second clock that I finished that works. Complete with alternate escapement. Yeah, I'm pretty proud of that.